Hi, this is Dr. Dan from Vitamin Pro, and we're talking a little bit about statins and CoQ10. Now, statins, of course, are, that's a real common medication. You're either on a statin or you know somebody else who is. And, a study done by the U.S. government about 10 years ago, they found that in the 65 to 74 age group, about 50% of the men were on a statin and about 35% of the women. And even in the 46 to 64 age group, something like 1 in 5 people were on a statin. So why is that important to us? Well, number one is that statins are billed as heart protective. So this is going to help your cardiovascular system run the way it's supposed to, and protecting its heart disease. Well, the data isn't so clear that this is what's happening, because people who've been on a statin and still had a heart attack or a stroke, and so what's the deal here? We think that there are other lifestyle choices that need to be made if you're having these problems, which is a topic for another day. But statin shouldn't be thrown at every problem. And most of the medical societies and the research would agree that if there are only certain groups that really should be put on statins, and that would be people who have, maybe you are diabetic, or maybe you have a strong history of heart disease or stroke, that sort of thing, or maybe your LDL levels are climbing like crazy. They're over 190. If you're diabetic and your LDL are over 70. So there are some times when a person should be on a statin. But let's say that you've looked at all the literature, you've read some articles, and you decide, yeah, I think I need to do the statin thing. So if you decide to go that route, you should also be on CoQ10. And the reason is that CoQ10 is one of the basic energy pathway components. So if you don't have sufficient CoQ10 in your cells, they're not going to make energy properly, and you're going to be subject to a whole lot of problems. So let me give you the list. Heart disease. Oh, wait a minute. You're taking this Lipitor in order to help your heart, but it turns out that lower CoQ10 will actually increase your heart disease. So what's up here? Kidney disease, high blood pressure, age-related macular degeneration, chronic fatigue syndrome, lymphoma, many cancers, including breast, prostate, lung, pancreas, colon, kidney, some cancer of the head and neck, type 2 diabetes, obesity, and Parkinson's disease. So that's a nice list. So again, let's go back a little bit. So you're taking the Lipitor or the Crestor or whatever, and the problem here is that this medication can lower your CoQ10 levels by 50% over 30 to 60 days. So now, one of the most important things you need for heart protection, the CoQ10, is being decreased at the same time. So that's why a lot of people go on the Lipitor. They have a heart attack anyway because they've lost one of the main heart protective components, that CoQ10. So what do you do about that? Well, fortunately, this is easy to supplement. Now, our body produces it, but as we get older, of course, the levels drop off. And of course, that's a part of aging. So you have to start supplementing. And most people are going to take about 100 milligrams 3 times a day, or a total of 300 milligrams a day, to help compensate for the statin. Now, if you have another chronic condition, you already have some of these things that were on that list, you're probably going to need more than that. Now, the Mayo Clinic did a nice report, which I'll have on our website, but the report basically shows that if you have certain types of conditions, the research shows that you're going to need somewhere between 50 milligrams a day up to 6,000 milligrams a day of CoQ10, which is quite a bit. So most of you are not going to need anything like that. Now, another thing, you can go down to your big box store and buy a cheap giant bottle of CoQ10. But the truth is, CoQ10 is not that cheap. And if you find a large, 350 capsule bottle for $15, there's probably not even any CoQ10 in there. So just be aware that Vitamin Pro, we won't do that to you. we'll sell you reputable brands that actually have CoQ10 in them, because obviously you need that benefit. So that's the story on CoQ10 and Lipitor, and why you should be taking it if you're on a statin. So thanks a lot for listening. Hopefully that was helpful.